Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, Tarkin, it seems like I can't stop talking about the Twilight Princess PC port, previously known as Dusk and now known as Dusklight. It has changed names, it's upgraded to 1.1, and we now have a bunch of new mods, improvements, fixes, stability issues taken care of, as well as some new textures we can use as well. Because when I did the video on the 4K texture pack from Henriko Magnifico, a lot of you guys loved that look, but some people were still bummed out that it looked like the GameCube version and not the Wii U HD remaster, because that had completely different textures in a lot of spots, and for some people that is the de facto way Twilight Princess looks, just depending on when you played the game, whether it was GameCube and Wii or whether it was on the Wii U. But the good thing is there's a ton of stability fixes in this new version. You can mod the game to your heart's content, and you can also get the Wii U textures in now as well, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this video, along with all the improvements, because it's wild what the Dusklight team has been doing with this thing, and honestly the amount of modifications you can put into this game is limitless, and I wouldn't look too hard at them or else you might get choice paralysis. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. And just so you know, every single texture you're seeing here is from the Wii U HD texture pack, because that did again have upgraded textures for the Wii U, and you're also going to get that really crystal clear text that people were talking about in the previous video, because on the actual original build using the GameCube textures as well as Henriko Magnifico's textures, you end up in a scenario where the text is actually more designed for a 240p presentation, not something like the 4K that we are doing here. And honestly, I think it looks amazing, but I really didn't have that much of an issue with the original text either. I know some of you didn't love it, and I totally get it, but for me, as long as I can read it, it really ends up not being much of an issue. Now, as we get into the desert here, some of these textures definitely still aren't going to be the most impressive things in the world, and that's just because sometimes sand, what are you really going to do texture-wise to make it look that much more impressive? And I think now that this is in 4K and beyond, a lot of people are actually surprised, because there is so much clarity here to just how simple some of the geometry in this game truly is. Those walls there on the actual chasms within the desert absolutely look like they're made out of like 15-20 polygons max. But as we get into some of the character models here and these wild boars you can ride around on, obviously a lot more geometry. And you can switch out models as well, but I will leave that up to you to decide which ones you want to put in and out, because there's basically limitless options. So again, you can craft whatever experience you want out of this one, but you basically have to find all that on your own, because if I went through model mods, I could make an hour-long video and still only show you like 10% of what truly existed out there. But in this new version, the best part is it's going to have a lot more stable performance, because there were some crashing issues that people were encountering, including trying to pull a few swords in the game where the game would basically just shut down for a lot of people. Additionally, the Android port is going to have a lot better time as well, because there were some graphic issues in those the last time I talked about the Twilight Princess PC port. And that really makes a huge difference, because as impressive as the visuals are, getting it in 16:9 and even beyond aspect ratios, getting the interpolation for extra frames, those are amazing. But if the game crashes or isn't stable enough for you to sit down and 100% enjoy it, obviously that's something that needs to be fixed. And that is not in any way, shape, or form a knock on the Dusklight team. They've done an incredible job, but the reality is you can only test so much, and when you send it out to the public, of course they're going to find issues that you never saw, because they're going to interact with and play the game in completely different ways. And my number one quote-unquote complaint, not really a complaint, just an observation, is the actual binding of the Z button. It had a lot of problems in the initial couple versions. You had to rebind it because it was basically taking priority away from the gameplay input and moving it over to the actual system. That has been 100% fixed up here. There's also a lot of improvements on some of the aiming with the inverted controls, basically allowing you to set up everything the way you would like to, because that is kind of the thing about PC ports like this. Everyone has an opinion on what they want Twilight Princess to play like. You're able to even play around with the UI with some mods to kind of change up the button configuration or even the spacing, and that definitely allows people to decide what works for them and run with it. But I will say the Wii U texture pack here, every bit as good as the 4K texture pack from Henriko. It just has a completely different vibe, and whether you put the bloom on the Dusk version or whether you use the original, you can kind of craft your own experience, including having this crystal clear text, which I know a lot of you were asking for. Let's go into our first soundtrack sample so you can hear the audio quality, because I feel like that maybe got a fix as well, and I'll be right back with a lot more.
Mystery. Future. Pretend. Angry. True.
Now take a close look here at all the textures you're seeing, as they are from the Wii U HD version of the game brought over into Twilight Princess Duskborn. And in just a moment we're going to move over to the original textures with the 4K texture pack from Henriko, and you'll be able to see that it does have a slightly different vibe. Now as far as which one's quote unquote better, there is no way to answer that. It is absolutely subjective as to what it is you want to see. For me personally, I find both of them very appealing, and it really doesn't change the overall enjoyability of the game, whether you're on the Wii U version or whether you're on Henriko's version. And I'm sure at this point in time we're probably going to even see another texture pack. Obviously these textures are a little bit more plain because they are from the GameCube version, and then they're scaled up to 1080p or 4K depending on what pack you pick, versus the Wii U version of the game is going to have more detail in the texture. But of course, if you have nostalgia for the original version of the game, then you're going to want to stick with that. If you maybe don't have that much nostalgia, or you started on the Wii U version, then that would definitely be the de facto way to play in my opinion. But that really is the incredible thing. We have all of these options to be able to articulate the image any way we want, being able to adjust the bloom from 0 to 100 on both Dusk as well as the original mode, and a ton of other image enhancements. This looks absolutely stunning no matter how you play it, but I can't stress enough, if you do have access to an OLED television or even a monitor, you have to use that. Because Twilight Princess, no matter what texture pack you're using, whether you're playing the PC port or otherwise, is absolutely a moody, very colorful game, playing in both the Shadow and Black realm as well as a lot of poppy colors. And when you put something like Dusklight onto an OLED television, it absolutely looks that much better than any other sort of panel you could possibly have it out there. But I will say I was playing around in my spare time, not for the video, just for the fun of it, and I actually brought this over with some adapters onto a television with a CRT going in the mix, and that absolutely was stunning in its own right. It was a lot of fun to kind of play around with this in 4:3 aspect ratio on an old tube TV. And you get all the enhancements, you get all the extra frames, but you still get the scan lines of an actual PVM, and that was just a ton of fun. Definitely was a project getting that signal incorrectly, but once I got it going, it really was absolutely the best of both worlds. A modern PC port of the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, along with a retro PVM from Sony. And I have a 20-inch monitor, so it definitely works really well for that. Even on 14 inches, I think it could be fun. Pun very much not intended, that just kind of came out that way. But as we move in here, again, all of the texture work, absolutely stunning. But the real big thing about this upgrade, and the textures work before the upgrade, I'm just combining videos, is just how much more stable this game has been for a bunch of people. Because for me personally, I haven't had any issues with it whatsoever, crashing or otherwise freezing on me. But I did have a decent amount of comments and people asking me questions on Discord, pointing out different areas in the game that basically were progress blocks. They would do the same thing over and over again, and the executable would just crash out. I asked a few people that had those issues, and they said they went back in, checked it out, and had no issues with it whatsoever. And that really is the thing about a project like this. Even if it's 1.0 status, it doesn't mean it's done, and this thing's going to be updated, modded to the nth degree, probably for the next year or so. And I totally get, some people get confused when they see 1.0 release, they think it is done and nobody's working on it anymore, and that couldn't be any further from the truth for the Twilight Princess PC port. And until Curse Reborn comes out, we can review that. This is what you get to play, and damn it, is it amazing. But one more soundtrack sample, and I'll be right back with a little bit more Twilight Princess for you. And yes, I know you can use a hookshot there to not die in the sand, but I kind of always play around with what I'm doing in a capture just to see how the game actually reacts when it is a port like this. Because in some of the areas where you would actually reload in from death, a few people commented that there was some crashing there as well, so I just like to kind of poke around and see exactly what's happening. But honestly, whether you use the Wii U HD texture pack or the Henriko 4K pack, or even don't use a texture pack whatsoever, the game absolutely is looking amazing. But if you've been playing this, you leave me a comment down below and you tell me, how do you prefer to play Twilight Princess Dusklight as far as PC ports are concerned? With the original textures, with 4K enhanced original textures, or with the Wii U textures? I feel like it's going to be pretty evenly split. But honestly, running this thing at 4K or higher internal running resolution with all of the bug fixes and quality of life improvements in the 1.1 release, it is absolutely a straight up 10 out of 10 project. I've been having a ton of fun testing it and making videos about it, and unless something major happens, this is probably the last time I talk about it until Courage Reborn comes out. But again, I am just absolutely impressed not only that this works so well, but also that it came out so closely after the Twilight Princess decomp hit 100%, which means that one day when the Wind Waker is 100% decompiled, I feel like you'll see a PC port for that pretty quickly as well. But short of that, we're done. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, but I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.